Hey everyone, it's the Jokester here, back for another video. Today I'm going to talk about a game series that's really close and near and dear to my heart, and that is the Darksiders series. That's a game series that I love to death. Played the first one on PS3, the second one on 360, and it's just, they were a great series. Joe Madera's art style is one of the greatest, art styles that I've always favored. It feels like a cross between like some Tim Burton and just a uniqueness and oddity to it. Exaggerated curves and really detailed art and cartoony flair, but like seriousness, and it's hard to describe it because it's such a unique way of doing art and drawing, but it's so interesting. Very like chunky and curvy and just a lot of detail put into it. They came out with IGN came out with 15 minutes of gameplay for Darksiders 3, and I watched it just shortly ago, and I have to be honest, it looks pretty ho-hum. Now, I know it's pre-alpha footage and everything, so there's that, and it's still got a year before it comes out, because it's not coming out to 2018, but for an early gameplay look, it was kind of ho-hum. I wouldn't say it was necessarily bad or awful or anything like that, but it just wasn't Darksiders 1 and 2 standard. It wasn't... I didn't really even feel like his inspiration and his direction was there. And, of course you're not going to feel that way because he's not a part of this project, which is really sad. I don't know why they didn't get him to be part of the project. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he had other things he had to do. I don't know. But it is kind of sad because he was the focal point in the big part of this series was his art style. That's what drawed people to it, was that art style and his talent put into the game, because it was like you were playing a living, comic book. It's like you got to go inside of his comic book world, like inside his mind, and you got to play around in it. And it's just kind of sad. Now, he did the original concept art for the Horsemen of the Apocalypse you're playing in this game, which is Fury, the only female member of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And her concept art was awesome. I mean, you really kind of felt like she was a battle mage, that she was focused on a lot of magical abilities and fiery type spells and things like that. And the combat all we got to see was melee combat. We didn't really get to see any magical abilities. Maybe they haven't made those yet. Maybe they're just not, implemented yet. We don't know. But I have to say that the combat we did see was very bland. It was very generic. It didn't even have the same flair that the God of War combat has. And these Darksiders games, has always been a cross between God of War, combo and combat, and Legend of Zelda type interesting puzzles and environmental hazards and things like that. So they were always a cross between both of those. And I don't really see that in this early gameplay. Now, I have to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily the game looked bad. I mean, they did a good job on like some of the attention to details, and the lighting and things like that. But it looks too realistic. It doesn't have that Joe Madera comic book flair. It doesn't have that. It doesn't look like a living, walking comic book. It kind of just looks like a edgy, dark game, like a game trying to be edgy and dark. And the Darksiders game do, deal with darker themes, but it never took itself too serious. There were always jokes or funny moments in there, you know, while you are in the middle of the apocalypse and the world is destroyed and humanity is gone, but there's still jokes and things going on, and it just it had a uniqueness to it, and I don't really see that in this gameplay, and that's sad. I feel like they're just trying to make it dark, for the purpose of being dark because because it's the apocalypse, and that wasn't the whole point of the first two Darksiders games. That wasn't the focal point. The focal point were the interesting characters in this apocalyptic setting, and the exaggerated, amazing art style of Joe Madeira being the focal point, and the great combat with awesome puzzles and platforming section. It made the game very unique and interesting. And you just don't see that here. Going back to Fury's design, and now a lot of times, no characters will not look like their original concept art. So, there's that. You could say that, well, no, not all characters look like their original concept art. Look at Sora from Kingdom Hearts. His original concept art, he was half boy, half lion. He had like a tail and some big, huge Dumbo-like ears, and he was some kind of animal with like pants and a shirt. That was his original concept art, and thank goodness they changed it, because as cool as that is to look at, that really wasn't a good idea, so it's a good thing they didn't go with it. But for this instance, Fury's concept art, which was drawn by Joe Madeira, looks amazing. It looks way better than the character design that they went with. In this gameplay, she just looks like she's like wearing generic Gears of War type armor almost, and her femininity is kind of just covered up by that. And you don't really feel like she's a mage. The character should stand out in her design. The character should be interesting to look at, and she just doesn't look interesting. I mean, her hair looks like a poofy poodle, and I don't know. There's something missing. It's like the heart and the soul of Darksiders really isn't in this yet. And I don't know if they're going to go back and redesign her, or maybe they're going to add different costumes. I don't know if she's going to have different interchangeable armor like Death did. We didn't see no treasure chests. We didn't see no magic. We didn't see no puzzles. The combat looked kind of bland. The character design looks kind of bland. I don't know. I'm a big Darksiders fan, and I really want this game to be really, really great. But the original team isn't here. Joe Madeira's not at the focal point of the art design and art direction, and I don't know. Part of me kind of wishes THQ was still around, but I know they're not. And we just kind of have to accept that. I just hope this game in a year's time turns out to be really, really good and not a disappointment. So far, for right now, I wouldn't say it's a horrible game. I would just say it's a average combat game. And unless they tighten it up, improve the graphics, put a little more oomph and flair to it, don't make it dark for the sake of being dark, really go back and look at the first two Darksiders games and see, the uniqueness of those and why those were so great, and implement it in this. Maybe change Fury's design a bit. I don't know. Not a lot of people will be on board, and Darksiders isn't one of the hugest video game series. It's kind of one of the more smaller ones. So if this doesn't get improved, then the smaller fan base for this probably won't be on board with it. They'll probably want to wait till the game's discounted. For me, I'm a hardcore fan. I mean, I got the comic book, I got the graphic novel. Heck, I'd have figures of the characters if I could. I don't know if I would get it day one, possibly just to be, you know, um, to be to support the series. But at the same time, if it's not up to standard of the first two games, I don't know. It might be a wait and see. And we don't know all the good game releases that are coming in 2018, so I don't know. We just have to wait and see. But I really do hope the game gets improved. I hope the next time that we really see gameplay, we'll get to see the features. We'll get to see what unique thing is in this game. So yeah, we just have to wait and see. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. What you thought of it if you saw the gameplay. And yeah, till next time, this is Jokester. Signing out. See ya.